Hey everyone, welcome back to Film Snob HQ. We are still on the road to Avengers Doomsday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is chapter 12. I've done 11 other videos. You want to go back and check them out. We've talked about Howard the Duck. We've talked about the Fantastic Four. We've talked about the X-Men, Blade, Spider-Man, Punisher. There's someone I'm definitely missing. Daredevil. I think there's someone else I'm missing, but that's fine. We're getting deep into the catalog. However, at chapter 12 today, we are still not at the MCU. We're still pre-MCU. We've got a few more movies to go through before we get to Iron Man. And today we're wrapping up the first trilogy of the series. And we are finishing with Blade Trinity. This flick came out in 2005? 2004? 2005? Around that time. I knew it and then I forgot. This is actually, I think, the first Blade film I saw. I was the perfect age when this movie came out. I was about 15, 16 years old. Great cast. We've got, obviously, Wesley Snipes reprising his role as Blade. We've got Ryan Reynolds as Hannibal King. And we've got Jessica Biel as Abigail Whistler, Whistler's daughter. This is probably the most maligned of the series. It's definitely the one that has the least grounded, I guess, approach. Even though they're all vampire films, this one gets very kind of like kooky and silly, and they've got all sorts of tech gadgets that don't quite make sense. And this has probably got the most sense of humor in it as well. So I know that this is one that people don't like as much, but I think it's really fun. There's a lot of controversy around this film behind the scenes. If you haven't heard the story, one of my favorite stories is that Wesley Snipes just did not get on with the director at all. They did not get along. There was a scene where he had to lie there with his eyes open, and he refused the entire time. So the production team had to CGI his eyes open in post, which I'm sure for the crew was an absolute pain in the neck. But it's a pretty funny story. This story picks up a few years after the second one. Everyone is aware of Blade now. Blade is a public figure. He's a figure of notoriety. They're trying to take him down. The vampires are trying to kind of spread this false narrative that he's made up vampires in his head, and the government's after him and the police are after him. But really, the vampires are behind it all, and they're just trying to take down Blade finally. And in order to try and stop him, they resurrect Dracula, played by Dominic Purcell, which is wild. Joining the cast along with the originals, we've also got Parker Posey, and is it Triple H, one of the wrestler guys? I should know. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's a fun ride. It's definitely a final chapter. It definitely gives you a conclusion to the trilogy. And whilst it's not as dark or as serious as the first two, it is a lot of fun. And the addition of Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel actually really elevates it for my liking. There's no one to ask the question, will they appear in Doomsday or Secret Wars? We've already talked about Wesley Snipes twice now. I do think he will show up in at least one of those films. I can't see why Ryan Reynolds would reprise this role when he's going to play Deadpool. Jessica Biel, I don't think her character left much of an impact. Whilst I liked her in the film, I don't think she has any desire to come back and play Abigail Whistler. And I don't think Dominic Purcell's coming back as Dracula. So that's a wrap on Blade for about 80 movies. And when we get to Deadpool and Wolverine, spoilers, we'll talk about it again. That's it. Next up is Elektra.